And now, our feature presentation.
Before we start today's episode, I just want to take a second and hit you with some nostalgia.
From the couch to the top, where we're always making collect calls by dialing down the center with 1-800-CALLATT. It's free for you, cheap for them.
I cannot live another day without air conditioning.
Says tomorrow's gonna be hotter.
Hotter?
Like yesterday.
Yesterday you said you'd call Sears.
I'll call today.
You call now.
I'll call now.
Hello, welcome to another episode of It Sure Is a Podcast. Alright, well, we'll see you next time. I literally got nothing now, and Eric's just looking at me like...
That one I did on purpose.
I was waiting for you to come in, and I'm sitting there, and there's a pause. We're done.
During the test, I was looking something up on my phone, and he was just staring at me. So that one was on purpose. I had to do it as a joke this time.
So we do have a very, very close to our hearts topic today, but before we do that, Eric, I gotta run something by you. Today at work, okay. So
that's
today,
never good when if there's gonna be a question, it's today at work.
So today at work, all right, the person I work with, her and I, we've been friends for a long time. So anything that I say isn't good, like crossing a line between us, because we've been friends for a very long time. Okay.
Oh yeah, so you guys have that back and forth.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So I wanted to kind of set that precedent before we got into
and
the
before
topic of...
I wasn't harassing her, I swear.
Exactly. And it's not harassing, but if you were just to hear what we were talking about out of context, you'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Okay, so we got on the topic of, I think she was reading an article or someone sent her something that was talking about someone shoving something up their butt, and if you put it in there so far, like that's how stuff gets stuck in people's rectums, because if it goes in there so far, your butt's just like, thank you, and then takes it, because it's like you put something in here, so it's mine, right? Like that's me simplifying the biological mumbo jumbo, whatever you want to call it. So she brought that up, and then we were talking about it a little bit. And apparently, all right, I got to run this by you if this has ever been a thought to anyone out there in the world, or has been a thought to you, Eric. Have you ever seen a toothbrush?
Yes. I was waiting for like a second part to that question.
No, just a toothbrush.
Yes.
Like, the handle of the toothbrush. Shape.
There are many different styles.
Yeah,
yes.
The shape of the toothbrush. All right, be 100% honest with me. Does that almost look inviting? It's like inviting you to jam that thing right up your butt. Oh God, the pause tells me that I'm the only one who's thought of this.
No, because no. I will say I've never thought that about a toothbrush, but there are other objects in the world I have clearly looked at, and I'm like, I know this is a mundane object, but clearly somebody who was into butt play designed this.
Okay, but it was never a toothbrush?
Never a toothbrush. I think it's too skinny.
When I said that, pretty much the same thing I said to you, because when she was talking about the stuff getting stuck in the butt, and I was like, yeah, I've always thought about like toothbrushes, like how far can you get it up there before it would get stuck? And she like looks at me, she's like, why would you think that? I'm like, well, haven't you looked at a toothbrush, like the handle? Doesn't that look like inviting for you to shove it up your butt? And she like looks at me, she's like, I've never thought that.
Well, we know she's not into butt play, so.
Yeah, apparently not. And I'm sitting here looking like some kind of dumbass, like just sitting there just openly talking about a kink of like, man, I've looked at a toothbrush handle and I thought, I could just jam that thing right up my butt.
Do you know what I have looked at and had that same thought?
Hairbrushes.
Hairbrushes were one.
Obviously the handle, not the brush part.
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah, that's weird that we wouldn't think of the brush part. No way.
Roku remotes. Specifically Roku remotes. They are rounded and they're just like they got the girth to it, but they're not super long. It's like a good starter penis if you're trying to get into anal.
It's like a good chode.
I'm literally looking at it, I'm like, whoever designed Roku, like, just wants to masturbate while they're watching TV. I'm not kidding.
Just changing the channel when you're just like jamming it up there.
Yeah, like women can use it as just a normal dildo, or guys, if they want some, prostate stimulation, they can do that while they're watching whatever.
Yeah.
Just take the batteries out so you're not constantly changing the channel.
Now that you brought that up with the Roku, I see it 100%.
See?
Yeah. The Roku
I'm not
remotes.
weird. Like, I looked at it, I'm like, this suspiciously, to me, looks like somebody designed it as a small sex toy.
I can jam this in my butt and watch Golden Girls.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
You're like, oh, yeah, Betty White, yeah.
Betty White's cute in that show. Actually, all of them are. All of them
Never
are like,
seen it.
Really?
Never had any. I think one time I was like, Golden Girls. It sounds like a kinky show. And they're like, it's about a bunch of old women. And I'm like, I could not care less.
Oh, that's where you're thinking kinky, but that's where you're missing out. It's one of those shows that I have watched a bunch of, not in any order, so I don't know like if there's overarching storylines or character development.
Yeah.
But I've watched enough. It's genuinely funny. Like,
I bet it's probably a great show.
Get up to nonsense, and it's beautiful.
That was one of those ones where somebody did tell me the premise, and I'm like, it doesn't seem like it would hold any interest to me.
Yeah, it really. Yeah, it's great. I really recommend it, but it's hard to get people into it. So it's like it's an old show.
That's
it's
part
an old
of
sitcom, and it's an old show about old women, and apparently some people are into silver foxes. Your loss. Just saying.
I'm not saying I'm against it. You don't see any of that in the show, so I'm like, why do I care?
Well, I can't even say I'm like, Eric, it's not all about sex, but our podcast literally opened up with me. It's like toothbrush handles. They look like they want to be in your butt.
How many times have we talked about like banging aliens in Mass Effect? I mean, come on. There's a little bit of an overarching like nerdy, like sexually frustrated nerd to this podcast.
Yes, there really is that, this the sexual tension of being a nerd. So I thought I would wrap up my nonsense in the beginning of this with that last week. When we were wrapping up, someone messaged me on Bumble, the dating app.
Yeah, we never got around to that.
Well, there was no discussion, but there's a discussion now. There was. I put a stop to it. I said, "Be gone, thought," and I ended the discussion. So, all right, this opens up just out of nowhere with "You're a blank," which is just my profession, and I said, "Yeah, I am." So she replies, "What are your credentials?" This is the opening discussion.
Red flag. Red flag.
Yeah.
That is somebody like, do you make money? Can I cheat on you during the day? Like, just no. What are your credentials? Nah, screw that.
And I explained my credentials, and I said, this kind of feels like an interrogation. She replies, people have said that to me before. And I said, well, yeah, I can see why they would say that. You slid into my DMs asking what I did, and that's it.
Yeah, that sounds like a gold. Not even like if you want to work that in just a natural way, but like, what do you do?
What do you do? Girl,
just Batman.
Buy
what
me
do you
dinner
do
first. Buy me dinner first before you start messing with me.
Yeah, ladies, you want the D? Buy the man some dinner. Come on.
Buy me something keto.
I tell my wife that all the time when she asks me a question or something. I'm just like, whoa, hey, buy me some dinner first.
Yeah, buy me dinner first, then we'll talk.
Yeah.
So after that, she just said, I like to ask questions. And I said, I mean, you take charge in a discussion. I can appreciate that. So she
expecting a witty comment back.
Right. She replies with that, I'm not always like this. So this is how I ended it. I stated, but apparently on Bumble, you always are.
Do you know what makes it even better?
I got no message back.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect one.
No, not from that.
However, the really funny thing is that she's like, I'm not always like this. Clearly other people have said the same thing, because if you're like trying to defend it. Like,
yeah. Just don't barge into my DMs. Just ask me,
I feel
what's your favorite color? What do you like to eat?
What's your job?
Then ask that.
Yeah, softball it in there. You gotta go slow at first.
Man,
Come on. I'm terrible at like that sort of. I mean, I've never been good. I don't know how I ever got married.
Neither do I,
don't know.
honestly. After getting to know you through the podcast, I don't know. I'm shocked.
Yeah, anybody listening to this is like, how is this man? I don't know either. There's nothing wrong with her. She's normal. I don't get it.
You're the one that's messed up.
Yeah, really. You know what it is? I was quiet. Whenever things get weird, I get quiet in real life.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, don't let the demons out. Don't let them see you for who you really are.
Don't let the
What do
demons
normal people do?
Yeah, what do normal people do? I guess I'll go mow the lawn and not think about jamming a toothbrush in my butt.
You want me to mow the lawn? Buy me dinner first, then we'll talk.
And the girl was really pretty too. It's just, I'm just at the point where I'm not playing around.
Well, here's the thing:
if I get serious about this, I'm get serious about it.
Well, if you want a man or I almost said woman, that's not fair. Man or woman,
whoever you're looking.
The
to
only way
court.
the only way you to be direct, like on a dating app, and in a like a fair sense, is like if you're just looking for a hookup, that should be like your opening line. Be like, yo, I'm DTF. That's all I'm looking for. Do you want to reciprocate? Because that way you're not wasting time, and the person. Maybe they are. Maybe they're like, all right, cool, one-time thing. We're like, let's do this. That's fair. But like, what's your job? It's like, if you want to be a potential partner, no. We're gonna do the dance a little bit.
Yeah, we have to dance a little bit before we get into any of that. You got to do the dance. And I'm not the type of person to just go the DTF route. That ain't me. My mama raised a nice, good little Christian boy, full of cum in his balls. I don't know why I sound like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh no! Why'd you say Winnie the Pooh? All those pots of honey. It's such bad visuals.
Piglet, I fill all these jars with my
and
cum.
then Piglet looks like an object designed to be sticked up someone's asshole. Stuck up, not sticked up. I'm sorry.
Piglet.
Pooh, what are you doing? No!
Piglet, there's some honey in my tree hole.
You are really good at that voice.
Come over here, Piglet. Time for you to slop on the knob.
We'll be back for another 10 minutes. Ah!
Christopher Robin will never know where you got so sticky from.
I think I've seen this video.
I've seen this somewhere. I'll be honest. There was a time where I would just talk like Winnie the Pooh just to kind of get better at the... So like nobody's home. I'm just down on my computer just playing a random game and I'm just going, yes, Jennifer of Engelberg.
Or you should do that when you're playing with other people. I will plow you on the stuffed unicorn. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I'll fill you full of stuff and fluff. I've got some spares. I can't do the voice. I'm not even going to try. I can't do it.
I practiced a long time for it. And, Piglet, my paws are all sticky, full of cum. Okay.
Now that we've ruined Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh. Woo.
You know, I'll never ever be able to play Kingdom Hearts again without like...
Oh, Sora's like, Winnie the Pooh, we can beat these heartless.
There's just an orgy going on in the background. In a minute, Sora.
In a minute, Sora.
Oh, that was more Mickey. But...
Yeah, that was more Mickey. But Mickey could be there. He's like, hey, in a minute, Sora, I'm about to
That's why all the book pages were missing. Mickey's like, you guys, we can't have any record of what went on here.
And some of the book pages were stuck together.
Oh.
and Pooh Bear looks over at Sora and is just like, give me a minute, Sora. I need to fill this pot full of honey. Okay, let's get into the real topic, the real meat and potatoes of today. The episode was originally going to be about Carrot Top. Because with that nostalgia that I hit you with in the beginning, I was like, Carrot Top. That's where the one nostalgia bit came from when he was the AT&T guy. You remember that, right?
No, I do not. Was he really?
Before cell phones, he was a CALLATT. It's free for you and cheap for them. And when you called that number, there was no charges of whoever you were calling, and it would be cheap for the person receiving the call. Back in the days when, we couldn't just call anyone with a cell phone.
Whoa. How old is Carrot Top?
Carrot Top's very old, but he's very uninteresting. I did this whole background research. I, went into the computer, the dark web to get info. There's not really any surprising scandals. He's just... We
were talking about this earlier. For some reason, I really expected him to be caught specifically with cocaine and hookers. And I'm not even knocking it. Like, I don't think that would make him a bad guy. That is, I feel like, a very specific scandal. I think he would be caught in.
Mm-hmm. And he just... Nothing really. There was like a few scandals here and there, but they were standard Hollywood things like, oh, dating this person. Oh, doing this. But now he had a facelift and he's weirdly jacked.
Yeah.
He looks like a JoJo villain, to be honest, right now.
I still haven't watched that, but I've seen trailers.
Yeah, as long as it's a bunch of flamboyantly dressed, just ripped dudes who just problem solve with ridiculous scenarios. You get the point. It's good, but that's what it is.
Okay, I'm gonna derail us. Just small side rail. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Is it anything like that horribly stupid show? I'm not even gonna. It was a bunch of Bobos in the game.
What's so funny is I was literally telling my coworker about that show today. Bo.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Whatever that's, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not that stupid. There's more of a consistent...
Okay.
That show was just a bunch of random just weirdness.
I like Goofy. I do. I enjoy some goofiness in a show. It's what keeps you some levity.
Yes.
But when there's nothing cohesive about it, I can't do it. I am not stoned enough for this, but I haven't been stoned in I don't know how many years, so... So that's probably my problem, is I'm not stoned while I'm watching this, and I'm not 4.
Right.
So...
Yeah, no, it's not like that. However, in a lot of the shows, they have a lot of filler episodes, and if you're just hanging out watching something, it's fine to watch that filler, but if you just want to get to the meat and potatoes of the series and the arc, there's certain episodes to watch, and you can find lists of what episodes do I need to watch to understand the story? And they'll be episode 30. And the next episode that's relevant to anything is episode 42. So you have 11 or so episodes, I can't do math well, in between there that's just random shenanigans. And they're not bad. It's just if you want the story, you're waiting 11 episodes for story.
That's kind of like Bleach.
Yeah.
Except...
Bleach. That was definitely Bleach.
They would do 30 episodes of story, and then they would do 30 episodes of nothing.
Yeah, just, you would have the beach episode, then you have the spin-off episode about someone else, and then...
I hated those.
Yeah.
I just want to see Soul Reapers killing demons. Let me go.
That is it. That is all a man wants to see Soul Reapers just kill some demons.
You can reap my soul. All right, anyway, back to the topic.
So the topic.
The reason that I was distracted...
At the beginning, because I was thinking about this.
I'm also only halfway through this list, and I am truly found another.
I
did.
In the previous few episodes, even though the past 2 episodes were just Elden Ring discussions with everything else sprinkled in.
Which I was fine to make that a trilogy into another one.
I'll be honest, I wasn't. Even though those 2 episodes did phenomenal on the charts for our podcast, I'm just
we just have to pray to the Elden Ring gods for listeners on this.
I'm just literally gonna put Elden Ring on as a hashtag for everything and just breaking those people, and they listen to the whole episode. They're like, wait a minute, Brandon and Eric, you didn't talk a single thing about Elden Ring. Now I have balls full of cum.
You blue balled me. God, I can't do it.
Me.
You are just insanely good.
My balls are bluer than yours.
Yeah, that's why he always had to pin him. That's why his tail was pinned on. He was holding his balls in.
That's the reason why. So with all that discussion, Eric was bringing up his Xbox 360 in a few discussions, and I got really nostalgic. And I was just scrolling through lists online of just all the Xbox 360 games, and I'm like, you know what?
That's literally what I'm doing right now, trying to find more.
Next episode is the Xbox 360 appreciation, because the Xbox 360 did so much, and I don't think we appreciate it enough.
It holds up now. The newest consoles are there's 2 generations after the 360,
and they still
and you can still go back and play it, and it's awesome. That, and it helped define what would be at least the base format for gaming, and it's just
especially with Xbox Live.
Oh yeah, that was when it really. I never had,
because you had to pay. Yes, and people were saying, "Oh, PlayStation's better because you don't have to pay." However,
Xbox offered more because you paid. They did take that money and expand.
Yes. And the setup for the online functionality was simple. It was easy. Now, I don't really have any memories of the PS3 because I only got it literally for the Borderlands, the pre-sequel. Because even though the PS4 was out, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to release it last gen. And then after I got the PS3, and then after I beat the game like 4 or 5 different times,
did they not have it on the 360?
They had it on the 360, but I switched over to PlayStation at that point because of PS4. Because PS4, right, we already talked about this, the switch between consoles. And
yeah.
Then they were like, we're releasing the Handsome Collection, and pre-sequel will be on the PS4. So I'm like, why do I have PS3? So then after I transferred all my save data, I got rid of the PS3. And then here we are talking about the Xbox 360. What a beautiful console. Do you have a game you want to like reminisce about?
Let me bring up. There's probably like 40 that I'm missing.
Well, just bring up the one we got. All right, let's get the honorable mentions out of the way.
The honorable mentions
are the big 360 games.
Yes.
And then everything else are like those little sweet guilty pleasures that we really got into.
So, I mean, obviously, well, first off, do you consider Fables like the big title?
Yeah, Fable's a big title.
So, I mean, I loved all the Fables, Gears of War, Halo, just Borderlands.
Yes.
We've talked about Dark Souls to No End that started on the 360.
Right.
Obviously Oblivion. Like, we love all these games.
And don't forget, Elder Scrolls was on the 360.
Which Elder Scrolls?
I mean, Skyrim.
That's right. Oh my God, I'm old. It started on the 360.
Everyone forgets that. And it's so crazy how they came from Oblivion to Skyrim.
Well, that's what they, like everything, they wanted to revamp it. I think they really took people's, because that was kind of when you started seeing that switch too, from Oblivion was a typical, like, you run through, you slash, you can jump. Skyrim brought you back down to earth, like physics. Like, you're going to play a character and you're not going to have all these crazy, like, I don't want to say you couldn't break the game, but like it didn't.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yep.
But they made it. We're gonna make it smoother. We're gonna make it more realistic. Yes, I know it's a video game. Don't give me crap about saying it's realistic. But so they overhauled it a lot. But I don't know. Those are my big Mass Effect. I'm just obviously that
Mass
also
Effect,
started.
Yep. Mass Effect was there.
We love all these games. These were big titles that a lot of people, and I think you really want to do the nostalgia of.
The big titles.
Yeah, what were some of the ones that maybe not everybody knew about?
Yes.
There was one game, I don't know, I'm super mad they never made a sequel. I don't know if you ever played it or not. It was kind of like a third-person shooter, futuristic, but set in Norse mythology. Too Human.
I have Too Human on my list.
Damn it. I was like, I got a good one.
That is a good one, though, because it kind of...
But your weapon, even though you switched it out, the soul of the weapon, it was Fenrir. Switched, like, from between your weapons, and it got, like, crazy and just...
That's right. That game was just totally... It was this...
It was insane.
Sci-fi Nordic, right?
Yes.
Nordic mythology.
Because you were all gods, and, like, Odin was there, and just... But it was futuristic, and you used guns, and you battled hordes of, like, zombies things, and you went to
I remember
hell.
The combat was weird. You had to swing with the stick, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that's right, you did.
Yeah, for every attack you had to swing with the right stick.
That was based off of like there was a Star Wars Obi-Wan game that you did that with, I think.
Yeah, for the original Xbox, right?
Yeah. So and I forgot.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Good game too. But
Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope.
stick that lightsaber up there.
It's so funny how when you try, it's just like
I can't do it. I just
you.
I know. I didn't smoke enough when I was a child. My voice isn't deep enough.
I don't think I ever smoked as a child. As an adult, maybe, but not a child.
Teenager.
Yeah, all right, yeah, fair.
But yeah, no, Too Human. I highly enjoyed that game though. It was just swarms of enemies. I remember getting frustrated though. There were at certain parts. There was definitely parts where it would get almost overwhelming.
It was very Dynasty Warriors-esque when they just like threw so many enemies on the screen. They're just like, all right.
Waves. And those games can be fun, but you got to make it a little bit to like you're overpowered and you can take them on.
Yeah, because Dynasty Warriors, you use any weapon and just soldiers go flying. They're just flying in the air, collapsing, breaking their necks on the ground. You're like, all right, next crew. You feel that's like the power fantasy, right? And I feel in Too Human, they wanted to achieve that, but they're like, it's tough. So when you see a mob, instead of being like, oh, I'll clear them out real quick,
I got a plan for this.
Too Human was the Dark Souls of Dynasty Warrior games.
I'm curious if I could find that again. I really like that game.
Dude, you can go to like any used game store and find it for like $2. It dropped in so much like in price in the used market just because it didn't review well, but it was one of the launch titles, and also Silicon Knights with their whole trademark and conspiracy that got them shut down because of that game. It was supposed to be a trilogy.
Well, yeah, they ended it and like you beat like one big enemy, and I was like, but wait, what about everyone else? And it was like end of game, and you're like, no, what? No!
Yeah, and
I need more.
I feel playing it now, you'd get that 2000 era cheese on how everything's super serious, and every protagonist. Most protagonists in these games on this list are bald. That was the trend.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're bald, or they have like the buzz shaved and just like a little bit on top, kind of like Guile from Street Fighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any more thoughts on it? Because I'm going to share another one that is just...
No, I have a pretty big list. So
all right, so we'll go back and forth. Another one near and dear to my heart. Anarchy Reigns.
I saw that on the list. I've never played it.
So, I don't know if you've heard the game Mad World for the Nintendo Wii. It's black and white, super bloody. John DiMaggio, the voice of, I hope I said that right, the voice of Bender from Futurama. And then some other guy. They're announcers, and what you're on this game show where you have to just kill a bunch of people. And they are announcing it the whole time. It was for the Wii. I have it. It's glorious. And I realized I played that game so much because I got it, I think, last year, and I was playing it. Everything was muscle memory. I picked up a guy. I knew exactly how to shake the Wii remotes to throw them in a trash can. Then I'd pick them up and impale them on a wall.
That's just... Oh.
So it was sort of a sequel to that, where the main character had a chainsaw for an arm. And what you do, it's kind of this open, not really open world, but sort of open area brawler. And there was a multiplayer component to it.
I was just about to ask if
like,
that seems like it was...
Up to like, I can't remember how many people, and I never got it to work. And I bought it at launch. And it was just so janky. But just... running around in a brawler, and there was like 20 some characters that you could play as, and in the story you played as the one guy, but sometimes you switch characters. But in the multiplayer you could play as all these different wacky characters, and you all just like punch the crap out of each other. And the soundtrack is outstanding. It's done by Platinum Games, Anarchy Reigns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Platinum kind of got its name for itself, starting with a few games like Okami. I think they did Okami, but also Mad World was like one of the breakout hits on the Wii, and then they kind of branched out from there and did a bunch of stuff. Oh man, just some of the soundtracks he plays. He's just the main guy's name is Jack, and he's a chainsaw on his arm, like
Welcome
Ash from
to the
Evil
early
Dead.
2000s.
Dude, it was so badass. And you're just fighting all these dudes and mutants. And there was a story, and the story's kind of deep and kind of personal, and it's like a redemption arc for the main character. I'm just going to set you up with the opening And honestly, after this discussion, so let's have a new job. Once I get the big boy paycheck, I'm very much going to get an Xbox 360 and grab some of these games because I feel I need this in my life again.
I recommend it. I highly recommend it.
So the story in the beginning is Jack adopts, it's kind of alluded to that he adopts this young girl. And then there is some kind of robbery and the young girl is killed. So Jack just becomes this just big a-hole. But also, like, in that time of, like, you know, that was the regular world where Jack's daughter was killed. And then something happens and everything's just like a wasteland now. I'm good pulling from my memory, right? So it's just the whole world just like Mad Max. Everyone just being crazy, running around.
Yeah.
So this girl hires you to go find this guy. Okay? But the thing is, Jack even tells the girl, like, that's my father. I want you to find him. And he's like, you know, the person you're having me look for is the guy who killed my daughter.
Oh.
So there's that platinum.
It's a twist.
There's that Platinum Games, like, flair. But there's, like, a deeper story than you would expect looking at the box art. And... now, gosh, I played it forever ago. I barely remember half the game, but, like, just saying that, like, that gave me shivers. Like, ooh, I'm like, I'm interested. I'm invested.
I'm gonna go find this dude.
And like, the daughter's like, I don't think you'll kill him. I just need you to find him and tell me where he is. And the story kind of develops from there.
I also like, I don't think he'll kill him. Did you not hear what I just said?
Yeah, he murdered
I'm half
my
tempted
daughter.
to kill you now, so when I find him, I can be like, hey, guess what? I killed your daughter too.
Yeah, it's a brawler. Fantastic combo system. Oh, what a good game. I'm feeling all nostalgic now. All right, hit me with another. I want more nostalgia.
Let me pick one. Okay, this is a good one. Dante's Inferno.
On my list too.
That was such a good, just not only was the gameplay, you know, just hack and slash combos, like the story itself, not super deep, but like the world they created from it. Obviously, they're going off of the poem Dante's Inferno.
Right, divine comedy.
I just man, they had dark senses of humor way back when. But
well, yeah, comedy had a different meaning than it does now. Very much so.
Oh, this man's got to go to hell. Oh, imagine the horrors you'll see.
Dante's going to hell for raping a woman while he is on a crusade. He promised he would be true to Beatrice, but he refused and slammed it into the nice young pussy.
You know what's really messed up?
I don't like saying that word in Pooh's voice. Not at all.
It definitely hit different when you did that. But you know what? That was really funny. He didn't even go to hell because he raped a woman. He went to hell because he was unfaithful to his wife.
Whoa. And pretty much like it. Yeah, there was a whole thing about like her soul. You know, he's like he promised, and like the devil's like you broke your promise. Beatrice comes to hell, and then he's just like, I'm gonna come get her. She was like, she is dead. She is found dead. I think actually barbarians killed her by the time he got home.
Okay.
And then he goes to her and he like sees her soul and Satan comes up and is like, you broke the promise. Sorry. She's going to go to hell. And then he gets his like cool death scythe made of bone.
Oh, that weapon was like, amazing.
He's like, I'm coming, Beatrice. Like, do you remember the trailer they had for it?
Vaguely.
Like, it's, oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of the song it plays.
I just remember, like, as a young...
There ain't no sunshine when it rains or something.
I just remember playing it, and then you find that you fight the desire demons, and they're women, but then gigantic dicks sprout out of them, and that's what their
like
weapons are.
On the end of them,
I was like, oh my god.
Exactly.
I was like, wow, they are going hard on this game.
Let me try to find that trailer, what trailer song, because there was this trailer that was so good.
Didn't you kill babies in that one too?
Oh yeah.
It was like really dark that weren't baptized.
Yeah, it's going off of,
very hardcore Christian beliefs.
No, Catholic. We're Catholic because
that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Catholic. All the babies were were unbaptized, so
Yeah.
they just went straight to hell and became these little baby things with these claws.
Yes, I was like, man, this game is.
There was such a good trailer for it. I really recommend look up the launch trailer for Dante's Inferno, because there's a cover to a song and he's like chasing down Beatrice in the hell, and it like pans out as all the rings of hell are attacking him, and he's just a little dot swinging his scythe on the screen, and there's like Cerberus, there's this giant titan gonna kill him. Yeah.
That was back when too, and now it's like, oh, you only get one weapon the whole game. Back then, they made that weapon.
They made it
You
last.
only wanted
that one
weapon.
one weapon.
Oh, such a good. I wish I could find that. Plus, when you could get different skins for your character, when it wasn't like cheap, I'm gonna buy it. You had to work for those skins.
I distinctly remember the one skin, not in that game, but in the God of War game, you had to beat it a few times, and you got the cod of war, and your weapons were 2 fish. So you're swinging around fish instead of your.
Wasn't there like a businessman
there was
one
a
where he
businessman,
had 2 suitcases?
two
I
briefcases.
loved using. I was just like, I'm a kick ass, and I'm gonna do it in style.
And I think the Xbox 360, that was when developers were willing to take chances on weird games. Tell me right now, a game that isn't indie or independent, have you seen a weird game come out for like PS4, Xbox One, anything current now? Like games that you look at and you're like, okay, this game, it's weird, it's quirky.
No, yeah, everybody's so scared to like. Here's the thing too, and God bless it all. I'm a millennial. I'm gonna sound like a boomer. I'm sorry. I truly think that stopped a lot because of social media. Because negative opinions get blasted so fast, so far, that people are afraid. They're like, they're afraid that people aren't gonna see what they were actually trying to do.
And big studios won't take that risk because they need to make the maximum amount of money.
It's not on my list because I didn't personally like it, but look at a game like Viva Pinata.
I love Viva Pinata.
It's a game about literally raising pinatas and making new pinatas. It's like farming pinatas. Now, I personally...
That's like 5-star, 10 out of 10 game of the century.
Yeah, everybody loved it. I don't like games like that, which is why.
Right.
I've never been...
Sense. That's not your...
Like, yeah, it's not that I didn't like the game. I don't like that genre of games. A lot of people like love it, and that was like a huge game for a long time.
It was like the first one.
It blew up, but it was, but I get what you're saying. Like looking back, it's kind of a weird, quirky game, but it was huge. People loved it because people didn't go on and read a review that said this sucks. It's about pinatas, and it's just you had to form your own opinion, and people played it and took it for what it was, and it was great.
And I actually have a quirky game on here that no one likes. And I distinctly remember when this game came out, when I worked at the movie theater, there was this guy I worked with who had this video game blog. And he was wondering, he's like, hey, I know you play a lot of different games. Do you want to review some games for me? And like write up a review on it on my site? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? So he sent me the links. And Never Dead was the one review I did. And then after he saw it, he's like, oh, this sounds awesome. He played it. He's like, this game is shit. You are not helping me anymore. So Never Dead holds this magical place in my heart because Never Dead, you play the role of this badass demon hunter slayer man. The catch is you're immortal. So you can't die in the game. The only way you can die is if you get eaten by these little like demon dogs. And then you're just digested forever.
Whoa.
And what you can do in the game is rip off your limbs, and you can use them to solve puzzles. And when you take too much damage, you'll start losing limbs. So you start taking hits, your leg flies off. So you're hopping around with an M1 just sitting there blasting away. And then if you get hit again, like the gun arm might fall off. So you pull out a pistol and start shooting with your other arm.
So like, do they reattach or do you just grow new ones?
They reattach. The funny thing is if you get completely beat up, right, in some heavy attacks, you just separate.
I was going to ask you just to...
Yeah, and then you roll your head around like Metroid's like a morph ball.
That's amazing.
And there's even parts in the game where you solve Metroid-like puzzles in the morph ball, but you're just the head and you're rolling through vents.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I can't get through here.
And that is
bowling.
That is literally just a game that I just so much loved, and everyone hated it. And
welcome to my life.
And when you get your pieces back, your arms and legs just like lazily slap onto your head, and they're wiggling as you're rolling. And once you get your body back, you reassemble your torso back. You reassemble. So there's all different guns. You have a sword, and it's like this giant. It's like this giant switchblade on your back. Not a switchblade, one of those butterfly knife. It's a giant butterfly knife. That's what it is.
Oh, wow. That actually sounds kind of cool.
And there's just demons. And I played it and beat on the hardest difficulty when I first got it because it was like, you can't die, right? You can only die from those dogs. Now, it was challenging, but I think that was the funnest way to play it. And the story is kind of set up like, all right, the main character, he's unlikable. There's these hub things when you go back to there's like this hub hotel where your partner, your teammate is this girl, and you work for like the Demon Hunting Association. And when you lose your house, you go to her house to like in between missions to do hubs. And of course they make him do really depraved shit. Like he goes like to her underwear drawer, looks around, he's like, opens it up, and he like picks it up, and he's like, and then he like goes to the bathroom and he like takes a dump, but he doesn't pull his pants down. He doesn't do anything. He just sits on the toilet, and you hear like, and he's like, oh, I smell.
Early 2000s animation.
Yeah. And then there's just other stuff you could get into the apartment, and she's just sitting there. She's like, I hate you. I hate you so much.
I hate you so goddamn
But
much.
at the very end of the game, the story kind of wraps up, and the character is somewhat redeemable. It's goofy, but it takes itself so seriously while being goofy.
I feel like that's the only way you can do like weird, dumb stuff like that, is you have to just be like, this is what we're doing. We're sticking with it nonstop.
Dude.
Because if you stop halfway through, you're like, that was weird. But if you do it the whole game, it's like, oh, okay, that's the theme. That's what this is supposed to be.
So when I reviewed the game for this friend, I was like, dude, this game's like 10 out of 10. And this was when, Gears of War, the new Halo, Call of Duty, all coming out in that span. And literally, I'm sitting here like, Never Dead's probably a masterpiece. I'm like, it's just goofy. It's fun. Don't take it seriously. The mechanics are enjoyable.
See, but that's not fair.
I think you'll like it.
That's the thing, is you're saying it like right up front. And obviously, if you're going to go in expecting like a serious like Gears of War type thing, that's not it.
It's not it. And literally, yeah, after that, my friend's like, wow, this game's really that good? I didn't think so. I'll try it out. He played it and beat it, and he's like, this game's absolute shit.
He just sounds like a wiener.
He is a wiener. He is a wiener. I hope he's doing well, but he is a wiener.
If you're going to review video games, like, if you hate it, fine. You don't have to love the game, but you got to give it some credit. Did it play well? Was it goofy?
It was good. There was a multiplayer mode, too.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Now, you didn't fall apart. You just picked any character from the campaign, and you just ran around with guns and shot. Also, the 360 was a time where every single game had to have a tacked-on multiplayer, even if it didn't make sense, and even if, like, it wasn't supposed to be there.
Some did. Some were... Okay, all shooters, I will say, probably had that.
Like, good example, Spec Ops The Line. Very good game. Tacked-on multiplayer, which was horrendous.
But I never played the Spec Ops ones. I was going to say
Spec Ops The Line 360. I do recommend, if you're going in completely blind, that's another 360 game that's on my list. Go in blind, don't look anything up. It is very good if you go in blind. And it sounds like you're going in blind, so if you ever have an interest, you can get it for like real cheap and play it.
I got to go up to our local used game store and just get a bunch of 360 games for like real cheap.
Yeah, when I get paid next week, you best believe I'm going to be there like 360 games. Give them all to me. Give them to me.
Oh man, especially it's probably been a while. You're going to get that check and you're going to be like, I'm rich.
I'm like, I have money. I can buy like groceries, and instead of like living off of bare minimum, and of course doing a diet with bare minimum. Yeah, that's okay. Give me another one. Another one on your list. If I got you at a bad time, I can pull up another one.
Nope, I got a lot of these are. I'm trying to pick one that's not a bigger name. Okay, it's a little bit of a bigger name, but I think that it was unique enough when it first came out, it warrants it.
All right.
Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
That's on my list too.
Just the fact that, like, that's always what I pictured, like, Jedi to actually be able to do. Now, obviously,
you're sending a stormtrooper flying across the map.
And that's what everybody's like, it was, the movies could never convey it. They tried to do it a little bit more, I think, in some
the
of newer ones a little bit. Even some of the newer games. I know you didn't, I'll get back to The Force Unleashed, but did you
Fallen
play?
Order.
Yes, the very end when he sees Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And he's just running away, and that tunnel is just getting ripped to shreds. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, that is what you were supposed to do.
With the Force.
And this one was just so... you could change your lightsaber color, you could get different costumes, and it was just... Everybody's like, the story sucked. I'm like...
The first story was good, the second story was terrible.
Yeah, they made him kind of a crybaby in the second one.
And yeah.
And in the first one, he's just like, I'm going to serve my master and kill everybody. And then halfway through, he's like, my master's a dick. I'm going to kill him.
And then, like, yeah, but this was before Disney took over the canon, and the original, beginning of the rebellion in the Star Wars Force Unleashed canon was that he sacrificed himself so the rebellion could escape, and they, like, made the symbol after him.
Oh, that's right. His father on Kashyyyk, I think it was, like that table in his childhood home or something.
Yeah. And they made that symbol up. Yeah.
I don't know, actually, what is canon now for the start of the...
Anything owned by Disney.
I know, but like...
If it has a Disney thing on it, it's canon. If it doesn't have Disney on it...
What's their starting? Because I forgot that changed, that's not canon anymore.
As long as it's not a mainline movie. If it's not a mainline movie... It's not canon. It's considered like a legend, a fantasy, a fable, if you will.
I know. There was like 30 or 40, 50 books of Star Wars, what happens afterwards. And
like what happens in between. And they just got rid of it.
That's why I'm like, I don't even... anyway, how did Disney say the rebellion started?
Well, the rebellion started...
I'm such a bad fan for this, but...
I don't even know anymore.
The universe is too complicated.
It's too complicated now, but Force Unleashed, yeah. And that chick who drove your ship?
Yeah.
Yeah. And your robot buddy?
The chick who drove that ship. We're just going to gloss over that. I'm married, and she's a video game character. They did that on purpose. They knew exactly what they were doing. They did shots. It was like Miranda from Mass Effect 2 all over again. They were doing shots where they're like, young boys playing this game?
Yep, get
Enjoy.
the butt in the shot, the butt shot.
Exactly. And you're just like, what?
I'm sitting there rocking in my seat going, there's a rumbly in my scrotum. My scrotum is rumbling.
But like that game was just so... You go into a Sarlacc pit at some point, don't you? Or do you avoid it? I can't remember what was going on in that one.
So long ago.
Yeah, I know.
Like, the nostalgia is there, and I'm getting excited about it, but I don't remember.
Did you ever...
And I originally played that game on the Wii. The Wii version is actually really awesome. But then I played the Xbox version later.
I always had fun. I wouldn't even throw them at first. I'd, like, kill everybody. I'd have one guy left. I'd pick him up, and I'd just smash him through the window. I wouldn't even, like, force throw him. I just swam. Dude, it was so
when the demo
fun.
came out, I played that first level so much.
Like 40 times.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care. I'm replaying it. I got to do it. It was so good.
But that was the first Star Wars game that was just, all the Star Wars games was kind of a knockoff of something else. And then this game was like,
and
we're going to be
like
different.
Shooters, or if you were a Jedi, it wasn't that, like, I think it was on the original Xbox, but the Jedi Academy, like the second one, you got like it was a shooter, and then you got your lightsaber, but the controls were weird, and it's still a good game, but like, yeah, this one was just go in, mess stuff up, have fun. And it was just, it was so cool.
And you got yourself a nice little Star Wars story to wrap it all up.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, bit of a disappointment.
Really was. It was cool that they gave you 2 lightsabers, but
it was pretty. It was a very pretty game for the Xbox.
Yeah, they just tanked the character.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I kind of feel like there were so many cuts made to that game because it doesn't even make sense, really.
It goes off the rails. They didn't know. Well, they were trying to, I think they were trying to incorporate either ending from the first one, because you had to make that choice at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, did he die? Did he not die? So, like, if he didn't die, then he just got brainwashed. And if he did die, he's a clone. But then like from there it goes weird and just
yeah. So the first one, play the first one. It's mwah. And I think it's coming out on Switch. Like I think they're just re-releasing it. Yeah, it was in one of the recent Nintendo Directs. All right, we gotta keep this train moving. Fear 1, 2, and or 3. I hit my mic.
Fear? I had that on my list too.
Fear.
First Encounter, Assault Recon.
Such cool games, even though
so like it was actually suspenseful and scary too. The first one.
The first one was.
Second
one was a little.
I don't think I ever played the third one. I won't lie, I don't remember the second one very well.
So second one, you don't play as Point Man or Fettle, Fettle was the psychic man who was eating people in the first one. Point Man was your character who could slow down time. In this game, you were just a standard character, and the second one, you were just some.
Oh yeah, you were just part
Joe.
of like part of the recon team or something.
And and pretty much after you go through the whole campaign, Alma rapes you, and you my bowl is full of cum unleashed into Alma, and then
wasn't she like the little the crazy chick who started it all? Kind of.
Yes, so the story behind Fear, and I really like Fear, and that's why I know the story. So Alma is she kind of presents herself as this tiny little girl, but she's actually she's this like comatose, dead, not dead girl because they're doing experiments for psychic soldiers.
And that's that was her projection of her as a child. She was thrown out in the world.
And the thing, and her real projection is her is just this the Ring looking, whatever that girl name was with long nails and all bloody and stuff. That was actually her. And she's kind of dead and comatose, but they forced her to give birth to this child. And it got weird, but man, it was good. Oh, and then there were mechs in it too. Not in the first one, but in the second one, oh man, those were crazy. Weren't they really hard to beat? Yeah, they're hard to beat, and then the second one, you hop in one and you just wipe out a whole town. And then the third one, Fear 3, is a very special game. A lot of people hate it. I actually really enjoy it. So you play as Fettle or Point Man, you can pick. So Fettle just has psychic powers, and he can take over people's bodies. You can run around as them and kill stuff, or you just can play it as a standard shooter. I think what they did was their multiplayer modes. Their multiplayer modes were the most fun I've ever had in a multiplayer game. There was the one mode was called Fucking Run, where there was this wall of death, and you were just running down this alleyway, and you just had to you and your team had to kill these monsters and creatures, and you had to reach the end. But the further you got, the more intense it would get. So all the monsters and creatures are really weighing down on you. You look back and the walls approach, and you're like, guys, we gotta go. And
we're gonna die. Let's go.
We can't get by this big giant monster. So what do we do? And then there was that mode. There was one where someone plays as a specter and kills someone, and then it's kind of almost like one of those game modes where you have to hold an item for a certain amount of time, and then you win if you
whoever holds it the longest type thing.
Yeah. And there were a few other modes, but that mode Fucking Run, my favorite. It's so good. That
sounds cool. That sounds like adrenaline pump. You're just we can't die. Let's go.
And there was no progression to it, but I think games then, the progression was a big thing, but then some games were you don't need progression, just go have fun. Also, what that game did, Fear 3, they really, really went overboard with the achievement thing. And every time you did any action in the game, you got a little award in the corner, when you reload a gun. I kid you not. You reload a gun and it's you reloaded 10 times. Badge.
Dang. I forgot all about the achievement craze.
Oh, that was a craze.
I think there was only one game I ever got 100% on, and that was Oblivion.
There was only one game I almost got 100% on, but just to prove a point, I didn't. It was Prototype 2.
I never played those ones either.
Prototype 2, it was just a open world sandbox where you just had some alien monster powers, and I
played the demo, I think.
Yeah, you just slap people around. The story wasn't great, but it's fun to play. A lot of fun games.
A lot of those games, that was why you played them, is it's fun gameplay, and it's just go screw around. It's fun.
Go screw around. Yeah, Fear 1 definitely was great.
I don't remember a whole lot because it's been so long, but I do remember that was like, didn't like your whole team die and then it was just you?
Oh yeah, right in the beginning, like they all died.
Yeah, and then it was just you had like command telling you where to go and
Yep,
stuff or something.
yep.
But like, yeah, go do this. You're like, I am fighting psychic monsters. I'm by myself. They're like, you have great reaction time. You're like, that's because I'm shitting myself. I'm so scared.
The slowdown feature, so good. More games need to have that. More
That
games.
was yeah, but they made it. It wasn't overpowered. That's why you're like you had to tactically use it, and it was just, oh, it was so good.
They had a good balance. Good balance. All right, hit me up with another game.
All right, let me.
I went down. I banged out 3 in 1.
I did 2 human. The fear was on there. Oh, here's another one. Lost Planet. The first one.
Yes.
I think I played the second one a little bit. It was one of those weird games that just. I mean, the first one was hard enough and didn't make sense.
Yeah.
The second one, I was like, I don't know what's going on. But the first one, the gameplay was just...
That was with the Acrid, right? Acrid?
Yeah,
Acrid?
something like that. You're like a little dude with a machine gun and then just giant bugs everywhere and you got to go into mech suits all the time.
I think that's when Capcom really started to buckle down more on the gameplay of their games.
Like the game, it was so good. You had like a grappling hook, but it only worked like so close to things.
Right. Right. I played more the second one. The second one had mechs. It had, oh man.
The first one had mechs, but I wonder if, did they upgrade it more in the second one?
I mean, it was just updated, but like the second game didn't really have a story at all. And it was just go to these maps and just shoot monsters.
I think that's what took me out of it is because the first one
had a story.
It was kind of convoluted, but it did have a story. And I was like, all right, I'm invested in like this dude trying to like do better on this ice cold planet that they're like, we need it for resources or to colonize or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was cool. I was like, I love the gameplay.
Shooting those giant things,
Yeah,
getting
I hated
that orange
bugs,
gunk.
so I was like, just shoot the orange things.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to know what's going on. Just shoot the orange stuff.
Shoot the orange stuff and then pick up orange stuff to get warm.
There was like I forgot about the you had to stay warm aspect.
Yeah, you gotta stay warm. You can't be cold, so you're running around picking up orange goop.
I just remember at some point you were like inside this domed city, and there was just a giant monster tearing it apart, and it's like, all right, go jump in that mech suit and kill it. Like,
and you're like,
are people in these buildings? They're like, yeah, like thousands of people are dying. You're like, what? What?
And they're just like,
why is no one helping me?
You got it, John Rambo. Go out there. Go save the day. And you get there in the little tiny mech. It's like...
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to get in this big mech, but the thing's the size of a skyscraper running around. You're like, oh, shit. Oh, it was so fun.
Lost Planet. And
it's such a good...
Then the third one, I never
there
played
was a
the third one.
one.
There was a third one, but it played more like Dead Space. And then Dead Space 3 played more like Lost Planet.
Yeah.
Which... I don't know why they swapped because they weren't made by the same people, but it was just that's kind of how it ended up. Yeah, Dead Space series 1, 2, even 3. 3 had its good points, but that's excellent Xbox 360 stuff.
I considered that like a real big game title, which is why it's on my list, but I wasn't gonna like dive into it. But yeah, that was such a good.
I stuck that in there just because if we didn't say it, someone would be like, what about Dead Space?
Well, there's a bunch of big name titles out. Like we're trying to do the ones that weren't like huge, massive. But yeah, Dead Space. Dead Space is one of the greatest game series of all time, in my opinion.
1 and 2. 3 is where kind of, but 1 and 2.
3 was good if you liked the first 2 because it was just more of that universe.
Yes.
So it was more of a shooter than the survival horror, but yes, it was.
Yes.
It was still good. It was worth it.
Another game. What I got here, Army of 2.
That's on my list too.
Dude, I remember playing Army of 2 with my buddy. Like, that game was built to play co-op. Because you had to take the aggression of all the guys, get the aggro so you could sneak around and kill them.
And I was such a loser. I didn't have friends to play with. So I always just soloed that.
But
that's why I was like, I have a friend.
I have a teammate.
Yeah. That's basically it.
I have a teammate. I will kill these dirty motherfuckers.
But just like the back-to-back sequences, like that was
so cool.
You got the different.
That was just like that was like Fast and Furious in a game. It was
oh my gosh, that's the perfect way to describe
stupid
it.
popcorn flick, but you're enjoying
2 guys because there's 2 of you, you can't die.
Yeah, it's just
Who-
Army of Two.
I don't remember the names, but who did you pick? The big dude or the
There
smaller
was what was it? Was it Salem and
I do remember Salem.
Carlos?
Carlos was the big dude, wasn't he?
Well, we're gonna just look it up on the internet. What
Yeah,
their
why
names were.
give, you know.
Yeah, it's like, why think Army of Two dudes? Because then you had Army of Two, the 40th Day.
Yeah, that was the second one.
Army of Two. Well, there was Army of Two, the Devil's Cartel, which did not star those two guys, but they were like the next generation, and then the game just kind of dropped off.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hadn't heard about
All
it
right.
forever.
Tyson Rios and Elliot Salem. So Tyson Rios, Elliot Salem.
Who'd you pick?
The bigger one, which I think was Rios.
Yeah, I always pick Salem, the smaller dude.
Yeah. The 40th Day, dude. Oh man, just looking at that, it's just oozing that.
You got to pick the different masks.
Yeah.
There was one you could upgrade a machine gun to put just the shield on the front of it as like a mobile. You could get a pimped out. You could pimp out all your weapons, just gold plated with like jewels and stuff,
and just blast everything away. And literally, the story was Army of Two. They're just like, okay,
there's two of you.
There's two of you, and there's an entire army. Go get him, champ, and they slap your butt and throw you out of the plane, and you're just like, all right.
Yeah, they're just like, all right, I'm getting paid, I guess.
And the funniest thing is those two guys, they were just just another day at the office.
Yeah.
They were just like, all right,
I think that was one of the jokes in there at some point was like, they're like, oh man, there's so many. And the other guy's like, yeah, just another day at the office.
They were just two hunky dudes being bros.
I loved that game. That was my dad played that one, and he, I think, loved it more than I did because he bought the second one the day it came out. He was like, back when we were poor, he worked and set money aside. He was like, I'm
just to
getting
play
this
the
one.
40th Day.
He beat it, and he's like, did you beat it yet? And I was like, no, I haven't played it.
He's like, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's like, I'm on my second playthrough.
I love it. And just like you having to cooperate, like to throw your teammate up there. There hasn't been a game kind of like Army of Two. All these Xbox games that we're talking about, they need to come back. They need to
yeah, everybody's on this frickin' we're just gonna remake everything because we suck and we don't have ideas. Yeah, come back and remake some of these. It wasn't for the 360, but Republic Commando. Why did that never get a sequel?
Yeah, that's a good game. That's a really good game.
That was I'm gonna leave it off because I'm in the spirit of it. That was the original Xbox, but damn, that was a good game.
That was a good game.
They did re-release it on the PS4, and I definitely bought it.
They did. Oh yes. All right, hit me with another Xbox game.
Oh, I'm starting to get I think this was for the 360. Ninja Gaiden.
Yes, Ninja Gaiden 2. I think it was. I didn't play it.
I think there was two of them on there. One of them was insanely hard, and it took me forever to beat it. The second one that I played, I think, wasn't as bad, but
Ninja Gaiden was the Dark Souls of
well, there was
action games. There you go.
I remember I was playing it. Oh, that was I got pissed at the ending guy. I really hope this wasn't the original Xbox, but it took me 3 days to beat the ending guy.
No, there was a Ninja Gaiden on the original Xbox, but then there was Ninja Gaiden 2 on the 360.
It must have been the second one then that was on the 360. The first one was super hard because I remember I looked up baby days of internet. You could die 3 times in the opening sequence, and it would offer to give you an easier version of gameplay. And I beat it on the first one, and I was like, I did that on the second. I was like, oh, this is so much more fun.
I always hate when those easy modes, when they offer them, especially now in games, where there's this big, fat mark on your game save file that says like casual mode or baby mode. Dude, I don't want to bring over a girl and she's like, oh, you playing Xenoblade Chronicles? And I'm like, yeah. And I bring up, she's like, oh, you're playing on casual mode? I'm like, girl, you don't know how hard this game can be.
I was fine with a micro penis, but casual mode, no thank you.
You know, I'll make it work with a micro penis, but that casual mode, I'm like, that's fair.
That's
fair.
a deal breaker.
Deal breaker. Yeah, I never got to play it that much. You're
you're just a ninja. and you went around and you fought enemies, and you could get different weapons and stuff, but I don't know. I loved that. It wasn't open world. It was still back when everything was level based, but I just
nothing wrong with level based. Actually,
I love
since
those ones.
Since there's so much open world now, we've become saturated, and I'm like, I just want like a hallway. Give me a hallway, and I'll go down it, and I'll be happy.
I got for free on the PS4 Call of Duty, the second one, and I was like, every once in a while, I want that. Just here's enemies, fight through this path to your objective, and like, that's it.
Yes.
I'm enjoying Elden Ring. I love me an open world, but every once in a while, you're like, I'm tired. I just want to go in and do this.
Because any of those games with that just linear pathway, it's a roller coaster ride. You're on there. There's highs. There's lows. And then you get to the end and you're like, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that ride.
Can I segue into another one?
Yes.
Oh, just on that topic?
Yes.
Bulletstorm.
Bulletstorm is just one of my most just beloved games from People Can Fly and from
Gearbox?
Epic. It was Epic.
Oh, it was Epic?
Yeah, because it came with So I love the game, and I remember at GameStop I was playing it, and the one guy who I worked with loves Gears of War, and he's just like, I paid $50 for a beta for Gears of War 3. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Bulletstorm's awesome.
Yeah, that was like, it was the kind of the style-ish of it, but they wanted to take it in a whole... Gears of War was so serious and dark and moody, and this one was just the same-ish style of gameplay, but with a couple twists, and it was hilarious.
Dude, I would spend hours. Hours. Like, okay, you ever see that meme of the girl laying in bed? It's like he's probably thinking about women, and the guy sitting there. I was literally thinking in my brain, strategizing. When I was a kid, I was in school. All the guys are just looking at all the girls like, dang, she looking good. And I'm just sitting there thinking, how could I maximize my combo? Maybe if I kicked a guy into a cactus, pulled him off, then threw him to a barrel. Yeah, I could probably get a
You
good
could
sword.
pull off dead enemies and combo them that way?
Well, later in the game, you can throw some enemies on spikes, and they'll like just bounce off of it if they're the harder enemies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then if you were to do it again, they would. But like then it's like that gives you some points, and then you would, it's all about combo, killing in cool ways. And I don't think games have done that recently. I love General Serrano. There was
he was a good enemy.
He was a really good
antagonist.
I wouldn't even call him an enemy because he was like. He was the antagonist. He was the bad guy, but he was hilarious. I thought he was so funny. All right, at the one part that you beat it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, at the one part at the end where it's like, all right, I'm going to give you the code to disarm the bomb. Are you ready? I'm going to spell it out for you. And he's like, all right. So he starts typing it in. It's like URDICKTIT. I think I forgot an A in there, but it spells URA dictate. and then he's sitting there and he presses it in and it just doesn't work. He's like, wait a minute.
I forget. Do you wind up killing him in the end?
No.
He escapes
away. And he brings because at the very end Ishii saves you and he's like, I told you I'd go for one last ride. And then he like saves you and like blows up General Serrano, but Serrano lives. And at the very end,
Ishii lives too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he brought Ishii back to life, and he's like, "You're gonna kill Grayson for me." and then like Ishii says, like, "God is dead," and then it ends with you in the life pod with that chick, and he's just sitting there. It's like, "I lost Ishii," and she's like, "What are you gonna do about it? Are you gonna go get him?" And he's like, "Hell yeah!" And then it ended, and we never got Bulletstorm 2, and I am just forever sad.
It was just such a fun.
It was beautiful, very colorful. Wacky, fun, but like
it was like Borderlands style, like graphics, but like Gears of War style gameplay, but with a twist of making everything a lot more like that. The whip, whatever, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, it was was it like the plasma whip or something?
It was just telekinesis whip, basically.
You just like you grab them, pull them towards you, you like break stuff.
So good, so good.
Oh, just
I have that on the PS4 too. I might re-download that just for because I beat Call of Duty again. So now I need a game to just kind of like when I'm too tired or I can't focus. Because like Elden Ring, I love it. I can't play it when I'm tired. You got to be able to focus when you're playing those From Software games.
You got to be 100%.
And Bulletstorm, you don't. You just gotta shoot shit.
You just shoot shit. And you like the upgrades, all the guns, they had different alt
Oh, that's
fires.
right. I forgot about, the combos gave you the points and you could just upgrade everything.
Favorite gun was it the, what they call it? Like the cannonball launcher or the baller? The one that would shoot that giant bouncing metal ball.
I didn't use it that much, but yeah, I know.
So if you figured out how to use that, you could destroy entire groups.
I gotta go back and do like a new game plus, but like with the guns, and then try out the different guns.
And the thing would bounce, and you could kick it. And if you kicked it enough times, it would do more damage. And last time, you would have punt that thing. Or what I would do is I would set it up like in an area with a bunch of like exploding barrels, traps, and then I would like kite all the enemies to it, and then I would just kick that thing and just boom, and just like everyone's flying body parts everywhere. And I was like, just that little bit of just like a dopamine just hitting my brain, like, as the numbers go up.
I was like, they had a Magnum, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a revolver, and you could fire like a flare out of it.
Yeah, I love that gun.
Or the sniper rifle where you could guide the bullet.
I abused that weapon so much. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Bulletstorm.
I might play that tonight.
You're like, I might play that again.
I work today, so I'm tired. I'm not going to play Elden Ring, but maybe I'll do that one.
So, let me bring up another game that was on the 360. It's Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron.
I never played any Transformers games because I was never big into... Like, I thought the movies were okay, but I've never been like a huge Transformers person. I love the toys as a kid.
Right.
But that was about where it stopped.
Those two I recommend. They're kind of their own canon, but they explain the war for Cybertron and then like how Cybertron's falling apart and they need to leave. It's a fantastic third-person shooter. It's fun to play. Guns sound great. You can transform at any time in your vehicle mode.
That's awesome.
So like instead of hiding behind cover, there's no... maybe the second one did a cover-based system, but the first one didn't. So you're like, oh shoot, I'm out in the open. Turn into a car, drive over to this place where there's cover, transform back, and then start sniping enemies. I won't go too much into it because it's just literally it's a really good game, but it's just this Transformers story. A tale as old as time. These stories, they all rhyme. I'm really proud of that one. It's just, they all fight, then it's like, oh, Cybertron's dying, then Fall of Cybertron. At the end, they all escape. But there's cool stuff that happens. Like in the second one, finding Grimlock, that was cool. All right, I won't spend much time on that one because I know you have played. Give me another one.
My list there's so many more. I know I'm not.
I know there's a list, and this could be a whole trilogy of episodes.
I would have to like actually sit there and go through every single 360 game because I know I've played more than this.
Oh yeah, I played a lot, and I played a lot of shovelware, like Two Worlds and Two Worlds 2. That is shovelware. It was supposed to be the Oblivion killer, and I put quotations around that. And
I saw Two Worlds as I was going through the list, and I never...
It's just a third-person Oblivion-like, but it's so bad. It's just... The thing is, you can find a joy in a game like that, but there's so many systems that aren't introduced appropriately, or they aren't told to the player at all. It is a slog to get through.
Huh.
And the narrative is dumb.
Ooh, we'll change tactics a little bit.
All right.
It started on the original Xbox, but they made like 40 different things. But the Burnout series, the racing one.
I've never been a car game person.
There's been select ones I've liked for each
Burnout
system.
Has been that series.
Because like I said, it was so cool because it was racing, but you just screw the other cars over, make them crash.
Yeah.
Like there was one mode where you could actually just destroy the other car and they couldn't finish. And that was just what wasn't there a mode where it was your job to crash in the most spectacular way? I remember that was the Burnout for the GameCube, I think. And that might have been the one, Burnout 3, I think, was for the Xbox. That was the one I first played. Yeah. Loved it. And yes, there were specific spots. I think you could make other people crash, and they took a photo, and it was like preset ones, and you got crazy points, and if you found them all, you unlock certain cars, and like it was so much fun. Then there was That was my favorite one. But the one they did next, I don't think it was Paradise. I think it was before that. Anyway, there was one on the 360. It was also a lot of fun. Same stuff. You could make cars crash, or even if you hit them, held them up against a rail, you got boost, and the more boost you got, you could... Oh, I'm not normally a big racing fan. That was one because it was just ridiculous and unrealistic, and that's why I loved it.
I'm the type of guy, the only racing games I play, Mario Kart. I haven't played another game that tickles that fancy other than Mario Kart. Hey gamer, I'm just taking a second to check in on you. You see, the last time your mom and I were hanging out, she may have subtly dropped the hint that you're not really sure how to support the podcast. And honestly, when I walked out of her room only wearing a bath towel and we locked eyes, I could see it on your face. There's quite a few ways you can support the podcast. You can find us on Twitter at sure_podcast, over on Instagram, it sure is a podcast, YouTube, and TikTok. It sure is a podcast. That's all you gotta look up. And then TikTok is for you Zoomers out there, because I post some real stupid shit there. For Eric and I, you listening is probably just one of the best things in the world. But if you do want to support us, those are ways you can. Also, just tell a friend that, hey, we listened to a terrible podcast. You should hop in on this. Also, if you want to support us monetarily, whatever one that makes you give us money, you can go on over to www.buymeacoffee.com/ISIA podcast. There you can drop us a few bucks and be on your way. But like I said earlier, just you guys listening is really enough for us.
Crash Team Racing.
Crash Team Racing, that one too. Yeah, because it's like the mascot kart racer. That's what I'm into. Also, Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer.
I love that game.
Such a good game. All right, I got another one for you. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
I never played any of the Metal Gears, and I don't want to say I've regretted it, but I've always wondered.
Metal Gear is a special game for a very special type of people. I'm not meaning that in a bad way, because I really like the Metal Gear series, and I play 3 is probably my favorite. Followed by 5 Phantom Pain.
That was part of the problem, is by the time I had heard about it, it was like 3 or 4 games deep in the series, and I was like,
those games are long.
Aren't they like super involved too?
A lot of cinematics, a lot of cinematics.
I was like, I want to, but I feel like this is a slog, and there's other games I want to play, so
yeah. And a lot of the themes are actually really in depth. They're war dramas, pretty much. And the concepts...
It sounds cool.
The concepts they get into are so ridiculously in-depth that you're like, oh, I'm just a secret agent, whatever. And then when you sit there and pick through everything and all the themes that Hideo Kojima... I love that guy, but I also like to call him Hideous Kajumbo. All the stuff he's like, all the themes, all the little details that you have to squeeze in there to look like... Man, it's depressing. But Revengeance was, you played as Raiden, who was the main character of the second game, came back in the 4th game, and then this was a side story. It is so action-packed. Platinum Games, one of their best. Soundtrack, it's just so good. Just people screaming rules of nature and all this heavy metal, and you're just killing these giant robots. And honestly... we right now currently we are living in the timeline of Metal Gear Revengeance, way before Trump ever decided to be president. Way before that time, this game was out, right? At the end of the game, Senator Armstrong is the final boss. The whole game was it was serious, but it wasn't as in depth and serious. And what the theme was, they were like kidnapping kids to try and turn them into super soldiers. And Senator Armstrong, like, he was the guy behind it all, right? So his intent was to make these super soldier kids so he could rule the world. So he could make America great again. That is a line from the video game.
Oh, yeah, that was Reagan's like in the 80s, wasn't it?
Dude, I don't know anything about politics, but I like to believe that we are living in the Metal Gear Solid Revengeance timeline where And
I mean, let's hope not, because that means the world's about to
yeah.
end.
No, you end up saving the day, and you get all the kids back to where they need to go. But it's very
All
good
of
action.
them?
Yes,
All of them?
most of them, some of them, probably not all of them, but yeah, no, it's just a great action title. It's just a goofy great time. All right, give me another one.
Again, also a huge title, but I feel like it got lost a little bit to time.
All right.
Dishonored.
Yes.
Like, it was huge when it came out, but I don't think there's anything... Like, I don't think it continued. It was Dishonored 2, and then I think there was, like, one more kind of...
Dishonored, Death of the Outsider.
Yeah. Dishonored... The first one was the only one I played.
That's the first one I only played too, and I played the second one later. I don't know. It didn't hit me the same way as the first one. That was kind of what I had
heard. But the first one was so good, and I was like... I couldn't figure out for a long time why I was so intrigued. It was a really dark and depressing game.
Yeah.
Like just the mood and the atmosphere, everything about it, I was like, why am I enjoying that? Because it was just this end times, you're trying to save this place from itself, and I don't know.
A lot of rats, the plague.
Yeah. Well, plus, like, it was like,
oh my gosh! I remember going through and doing the playthrough where no one died, no one knew you were there. Like I was
going to bring up like the ending depended on how many people you killed, and I'm like, but I love stealth games and like one-on-one taking everybody out. Like that's what I enjoy doing, and I was like, but I'm gonna get a horrible ending if I do this.
I remember,
but I did it anyways.
I remember first time playing through, I went with that. No one saw me. I had so many quick saves, so many like saves where I was just like, I went down a hallway. I'm like, no one saw me. Save.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just like,
no one saw me. Save.
Yep.
And then
secret entrance. I found it. Got to save, so I know so I can start from here again.
And the problem was when you would knock people out and hide the body, and you could do that with a certain number of enemies, then you would still get that thing, but the rats would eat them if you left them out, so you had to like put them up somewhere. So there was a time I was carrying bodies up to a catwalk, and there's just bodies lined on the catwalk, and all the rats are running around. I'm like, you ain't getting those bodies, they're gonna live. And the rats are like, but we're so hungry. And I'm like, I don't care, rats. You're not getting to eat those people.
Wasn't there literally like piles of dead bodies in the streets they could have eaten?
Yeah, because the city of
what it was called, the head of the empire place.
Yeah, fudge. What was it? I forget what the place was called, but yeah, that city was going. They had the plague, and they're like, "Oh, we're doing all this." The second one went outside of that city a little bit. I don't think that ruined it, but I think it was like too open, if that makes sense.
I can definitely see how that game would get real overwhelming, like not fun.
That's what it was, because in a lot of the maps, and they had a lot of interesting scenarios too. Remember the party?
You had to get in and sneak through the place at the party?
No, like you could wear your mask and walk around the party because of the mask party.
Oh, yeah.
And you just were assassinating people, and like it just plain as like broad daylight, and everyone just like cool.
Well, that was what was fun, is they would give you this map and you would just have to find your way through it. It was level based, but it wasn't, okay, there's only one way to go. That was, you got to do whatever, explore
that one level,
and find.
You had 5 or 6 options. I distinctly remember being able to possess a fish and swim through a grate and skip the entire level and just pop up where you needed to be.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That, like I said, and it was a huge for its time, but then it went away, and I haven't heard about it in forever. So,
well, the studio went on to make what is it? What's that new game that came out? Deathloop. That was by them. Prey was by them.
I'm thinking of Death Stranding. Deathloop. I don't remember.
That's newer. It's PS5 and PC only.
Oh, okay. That's probably why I'm not following
It did not look appealing to me. Didn't look entertaining to me. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. You don't have that much choice. You just have like a set of weapons, and they can only do certain things. But they're going with like every time you die, you start the loop over, and you're supposed to learn every time stuff. But yeah.
So they're kind of taking a little bit of a Dark Souls route, but just a different gameplay style.
And then they had Prey, where it was like that space station that you were on.
I never played it. I did want to. It looked cool.
It is very cool. The downside is unless you get into it, unless you go balls deep into it, you're not going to enjoy it, only because you see everything it has to offer in the first hour, only because it's like simulation. Right, so you can start messing around with stuff and, get to areas using different items or picking up. It's not bad. It just wasn't for me. But speaking of Prey, let's talk about the 2006? I think it was 2006 Prey. That game, Xbox launch title, Xbox 360 launch title. Dude, that was good. You were, back in the days when our protagonist for our shooters wasn't a white man. It was, I forget, I think he might have been Cherokee, Cherokee Indian. He got sucked up into a spaceship as it plays Don't Fear the Reaper. And then once you're in there, you just start blowing away aliens, blowing them up. And, they were just, it was so cool. Such a cool game. All the weapons were like living and alive. You had to go save your girlfriend. Every time you died, you go to the spirit world and you have to shoot these flying like alien manta rays to be able to come back to life.
That's so cool.
And depending how many you killed, that's how much health you would have, and you're killing aliens.
Oh, I like that concept.
Oh, what a good game. I actually, when I had my Xbox One, it was backwards compatible, and I played it again, and I beat it. I was like, this is a good game.
Just the game, and they hold up. Even the weird, quirky ones.
And the reason was it was all about not multiplayer. It was all about gameplay.
Yeah, that was like it doesn't matter if you have a weird concept. They put their heart and soul into it, and it worked. It didn't get released until it worked.
You can be You can be The Last of Us 2 and have a fancy story, but if the gameplay sucks, then the game sucks. As Winnie the Pooh says. All right, hit me with another one.
My list is getting low. I'm sure there's probably dozens more.
I got like 3 more I definitely want to cover.
Crap. We got through most of mine. Okay, so one more. Again, big title, but I think it's slept on because I haven't seen a lot of reboots recently for it.
Right, Witcher 2.
No. Damn. However, I have that for the 360, and I am going to play it at some point.
Good luck.
Really? I thought it was supposed to be...
Witcher 3, beautiful. Witcher 1, quirky but beautiful. I've beaten Witcher 2, but it's... Play it on the easiest difficulty. Just play it for story. Enjoy yourself. Story's good. The gameplay and systems... Ugh.
Not good.
Ugh. Everything's convoluted, especially playing the third one. You're like, how do I make a potion? Oh, I can't make a potion unless I'm meditating. All right, when can I meditate? Oh, I can only meditate this time. All right, can I use a potion during battle? No, I can only use a potion when I meditate. Yeah.
Maybe we'll skip.
If you want to know the story, want to get into it, put it on the easiest difficulty and just blast your way through.
Maybe I'll do that because I do like games that. I'm just.
All right, I interrupted you.
Batman: Arkham Asylum.
Yes,
that was one of my. And I love Batman. I've always loved Batman, but I was never huge into like the comics. I can't say I'm like a huge a hardcore Batman fan.
Just like Batman, you're like a guy.
I like the concept of it. I've liked the movies. I enjoy the world of Batman. That game was awesome. Just. You're flying around, you're fighting enemies, the fighting, I haven't played a good fisticuffs game like that in so long. He's got all his gadgets, got to do all the Riddler puzzles and stuff. It had a little bit of everything, and it just, to me, that was
one of those
amazing.
That was one of those games you couldn't put down. When you were playing, you were just like, all right, I'll stop. And as soon as you're about to put the controller down, you're like, what's that over there?
Yeah.
You're just like, run over, you're like,
or you're like, oh wait, I recognize this other Riddler thing now. I gotta go solve this puzzle now. I have this ability to do it, and it just, it was so good. And I love at one point he's like, I got to get to the Batcave. They're like, the island's cut off. He's like, I know. I have a secondary Batcave here, just in case of a situation like this. They're like,
he's another Batcave on the island.
They just completely just glossed over it. They're like, you have a secondary Batcave on Arkham Island.
And Batman's just like,
yes,
I'm rich. I don't know what you
they're
expected.
like, when did you have time to... You know what? It doesn't matter. Get to your Batcave.
And then Arkham City followed that.
And I didn't play any of the other ones. I think I have whatever the third one was.
Arkham Knight. I never played that one, but Arkham Asylum definitely was like the foundation for like that kind of super, but it was so good. Like Arkham Asylum holds up because it's a Metroidvania pretty much.
Yeah, it was just
you upgrade
a
your
set
gadgets.
area, and then as you progress through the story, you unlock more places, you upgrade your gadgets, your fighting and stuff, and you can just make it further and further through the game. It just, again, I know there was such a huge title, but it held such a place in my heart. I'm like, it's got to go on my 360 list.
Yeah, it is such a good title. Oh, I have two more. I don't know. Do you have any other ones?
I'm gonna browse through the list. That was all the ones I had found, and I was trying to remember. I've played dozens of games, so there's definitely more.
There are
but
more.
I think those were, besides like obviously the big name titles, those were a lot of ones that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and we're not ever gonna, get to all the Xbox 360 games, but Xbox 360, these were the ones that we cherish. These were the ones that we remember. We have stories about.
I was say, yeah, my goldfish brain can't remember half the stuff I should. But...
all right, let me hit you. Actually, I have three.
I really want to play Too Human again after talking about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely next paycheck. We're going to be seeing a 360 in my life. All right, here we go. My last three games. One that I didn't call off. I scheduled off of work to play, Brink. Do you remember that one?
I know the name.
Brink was the experimental game where you played as two sides. There was the rebels and there was like security. And you were on this island called the Ark, this man-made island. And you lost all contact with the outside world. And you're like, we don't know what's happening. So all the people start to panic. So Brink was this game where it was kind of, it's a multiplayer game, but the story was told through the gameplay and through the multiplayer matches you would play.
Okay, I didn't play it. I do remember, I think some of my friends had it.
Dude, I played so much of that game. It was hated. People didn't like it, but it was fun.
I thought it was like a big game.
No.
I thought it was a big name title.
No.
Really?
No, it just looks big.
Huh.
Splash Damage were the guys who made it. You could parkour everywhere. As long as you held a button, you could jump over stuff and run on walls.
I loved games that did that. They're just like, all right, physics don't exist in this world. Ooh, okay, I did find another one, but more about Brink.
After Brink. Yeah, you make your own character, make your own class, and there were different classes, and you could switch class in, you didn't have to, die to switch. You could switch class in the middle of a match. It was very...
Oh, that's unique.
And you would capture command posts, and then you could switch your class. So, if there's, we need to hack this bomb. Oh, I need to be an engineer. So you're sitting there shooting guys. Now, you can actually still play it all with bots, but the bots are so stupid, so you have to play the class to do the objective. But you could run to a command base you got, switch to the class, and that class will already have a loadout you built. And you just immediately just switch that loadout and you just go run in there. I played so much of that. Everyone hated it. If you look up videos about Brink, everyone's just pooping on it. And there was so much customization.
Yeah, it's always sad to see something like that that's so cool and unique and fun for everybody because it's so multiplayer. But then it's just yeah.
Yeah, it was a little janky. Even when playing, it was a little janky, but I had a good time overall. I really remember and cherish, and I still have the guidebook for it.
You can't get rid of the guidebooks.
I can't.
Those are Bible. We always called them our Bible.
They are the Bible. All right, you found another one. You looked over and you're like, I found another one.
Overlord.
I have Overlord 1 and Overlord 2 on here.
Didn't play the second one. The first one.
Oh, the Overlord!
I just running around... controlling all your little minions. I don't even remember. Did you ever play as the Overlord or was it just the minions?
No, you were the Overlord. It was Pikmin, but with fantasy. You control the Overlord. There are brown minions, green minions, red minions, blue
that's
minions.
Right. Yeah, and they all had different things. I just had so much fun running through and sacking the cities and
And especially the first town you go to, they're so obsessed with pumpkins. I don't know why. And you can send your minions into the house and you'll see the house start to shake and then like it falls apart and they come running out and it's on fire and the people are just like, oh, you got yourself a little army.
Yes. Little
There were-
minions are like, yeah!
Dude, I bought those both on PC and I played through them a while back and they were so goofy, so funny, but so good. And you built up your tower. You would customize it and, become the Overlord again.
It was just one of those goofy, fun, just nonsense games. Was there even a story to it?
There was.
I don't even remember the
You
story.
You wanted to become the Overlord of the land, and there's one thing preventing you from doing that, and no one could remember what it was. It was the Forgotten God, and he's just mad that everyone forgot about him. And after you defeat him, the Overlord actually kind of, I don't know if he gets trapped in a dimension or if he actually dies defeating the thing. But the thing was, at the end of the game, it's like evil finds a way, and that mistress that you put in your tower, you actually got her knocked up. And then the second game, you play as the son of the first Overlord, and it's in that snow, and it's in a snowy town. All the kids hate you, so you ruin their little party, and then you accidentally get frozen, and then you're thawed out, and you're older, and you're just like, oh, okay. But that guy, I forget what his name was. It Gnarl? I think it was Gnarl, the guy who would follow you around, help you out. He had the big lantern hanging over his head.
Oh yeah,
that minion. Yes, Overlord. All right. Asura's Wrath.
Crap. I really want to say I played it. I don't remember anything about it.
Asura's Wrath is a weird game because I remember when I bought it at GameStop, I was like, what do you think I should get? Asura's Wrath or this other title? And the guy was like, neither. They both sound terrible. And I was sitting there, I looked at this guy, I'm like, dude, number one, eat my ass. Number two, I'll get Asura's Wrath. Yes. It is so cinematic, over the top, insane. Pretty much a story. Asura.
I didn't play it. I wanted it so bad because of that over the topness. I saw trailers on TV. I'm like, I want it.
So the game starts out, the planet of whatever planet is corrupted by sin, right? So all these gods just show up with giant starships, starfighters, just dudes floating in space with guns. And you're just like, all right, we got to clean this planet up. And your guy's just like, all right. And instead of hopping in a ship, he just runs, jumps out a window, and falls to the planet. But it turns into an on-rail shooter where you're dodging things and shooting stuff. But you're you have this I don't remember if it's a giant cannon or if you're using your fists to punch. It was so cool.
It sounds so good.
And after defeating sin, all the gods betray you.
Obviously.
And they kill you.
Dicks.
And the entire reason Asura's Wrath, why it's called that, is because they made his daughter cry. So he killed all the gods and every single god in that reality.
Whoa.
When he killed the final god, his daughter sitting, this might be spoilers, but you really got to play it for yourself.
This game's got to be 15 years old at this point.
Dude, your daughter runs up to you. She's like, why'd you do that? You're going to die. You killed the only thing keeping you alive. And Asura's just like, I couldn't bear to watch you cry. I never wanted.
It was all about fatherhood.
And he's just like, and I'm getting goosebumps over here thinking about it. And he's like, I never want to see you cry again.
It's but now you're going to die, so I'm going to cry a lot.
That's not the point. And at the very end, he's just fading away. And because they made his daughter cry, he just murdered the Pantheon.
But that's such a good...
This was Kratos. Kratos was I'm going to get revenge for what they did to me. They tricked me. They manipulated me. They treated me poorly, so I'll be the new god of war. And
which is
Asura
funny.
Is just you made my daughter cry?
So that was
gonna wipe out.
That was John Wick before John Wick.
Yeah, and he's I'm gonna wipe out every single idea of a deity in this reality. And unfortunately, the
Oh.
only way to beat the game officially is there's DLC that you have to buy for the true ending.
Ugh.
Yeah, there was a phase of that with the 360, but
Yeah, DLC.
DLC. Yeah, all right.
It was fun. It was good.
That one's done. I have one more. If you got one more,
I'm still looking. You can go ahead and do yours. I think I might be out.
all right. My last one is Binary Domain. See, I was the kid. People would go, new Call of Duty's out, and everyone would flock to that. I'm the kid who's like, Binary Domain, that looks funky. I'm gonna play it. And then I did. And it's actually really fun.
Well, you miss out if you only play the big titles. You miss out on so much.
Yeah. So pretty much Binary Domain is almost that iRobot, Blade Runner kind of thing, where there's machines. And the machines obey the rules of robotics, like you can't kill human, all that stuff. Well, you start to find out there's these things called hollowed ones, where there's people in society who don't know they're robots, but they're robots. It's a third-person shooter, and it's developed by the guys who made Yakuza, so it's a little wacky in parts. There's definitely a part where the two main characters notice this one girl, and I don't really understand why they had the scene, but they're like, dude, does that girl look familiar? Yeah, she looks like one of those girls from those adult movies. And then they both do this at the camera. And you couldn't see the face, but I made that stupid for gamer to use the gamer terminology, like the pogger's face, like the ooh, and they look at the camera. But yeah, and you get this team, and the thing was, it kind of played like Mass Effect because you could choose your party members, but it was more linear. So there was a French robot. He was part of the resistance, and you only talk to him when you meet him. It's like, you're a robot, and everyone starts freaking out. There's a sniper chick. I forget his name, but he was a big ripped black guy. He was my favorite character, and he had this giant minigun.
Yes.
Then it was your main character, and there were two other ones, and it was a very interesting story because it just played on that. What does it mean to be human? If I'm a hollow one of those robots, am I actually human? Am I not human? Do I have a soul? All that stuff. It was a very good time. And when you shot the robots, their armor would start to chip off, and it would take a lot to take them down. There's also a robot gorilla.
Yes.
I distinctly remember that.
I love the crazy over the top stuff like that.
There's no reason why to have a robot gorilla, but they're like, a robot
But why
gorilla would be cool to
not?
fight. Exactly.
You don't need a reason for it. If it's cool, put it in there. Yeah.
You got another one? Because if not, we're gonna wrap up this episode. This is a long one, but we really wanted to just enjoy and just remember the Xbox 360.
It was such a good console.
It still is. It still is, Eric. It's still a good console.
Okay, I have one. There's really not much to say about it, but I can't believe I forgot it. It was the one, when you said it, the one game that came to mind. Lord of the Rings Conquest.
That was the Lord of the Rings Battlefront, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a very short game, but you could just play it over and over. Different classes, different characters. I loved. There really isn't that much to say. I remember playing, obviously Lord of the Rings fan, so I was like, I'm going to give it a shot, and it just,
Dude,
it was so fun. It was rinse and repeat, but it was so much fun, especially when you got to be, if you did the alternate storyline, where they fail, and you get to be Sauron at the end, just whacking the hobbits around.
Oh, I remember playing that. I can't believe I forgot it. I remember playing that at my buddy's house back in the day when his parents would be out of town for the weekend. He's like, yeah, come over. And we all get super drunk and just play that game. And we'd wake up 2 p.m, looking around. The game's still on, and we pause it. And we just we drag ourselves through all our junk food and beer cans. And we reach the controller and we keep playing.
You're like, I don't know what.
Eyes are bloodshot.
You're just I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to keep playing.
I haven't gone to the bathroom yet, and I'm pissing myself, but I'm just playing this game.
It was so addictive.
My buddy played that a lot, yeah.
I loved that one.
The Xbox 360. Thank you for the wonderful, wonderful memories.
All right, do you want to end it on a strong note, or do you want to end it on a blah note?
Why are you saying blah note?
Okay, all right. So the episode, we're pretty much done, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm wondering how you're gonna ruin it.
I'm gonna steal a bit from someone else. It's a different joke. I'm totally stealing it. But what's funnier? What's a funnier term? E-girls or I-ladies?
E-girls or I-ladies?
Yeah, just what's the funnier term?
Honestly, E-girls, because I-ladies just makes me think of like iRobot.
You don't like I-ladies? You don't like it when I-ladies nuts across your face?